Hello, I'm Doug Russell. I'm going to talk to you today about Neo4J delivering insights into Trophic Cascades. So what is a Trophic Cascade? It's a series of ecological events that initiate at a high level in the food chain and propagate down to lower levels in the food chain. For this case study, we're going to focus on the reestablishment of the wolf in Yellowstone National Park back in 1995. This cascade affected many other species and, surprisingly, the landscape itself. Identifying relationships between species and the landscape through Neo4J gives insights into the cause and effect of the cascade. This can be done quickly and easily with the graph model. We're going to look at three different queries of our data. The first one is going to return a table, and in that table you can read across the different factors that are going on in the cascade that we see here. And we're going to limit that to 5, so we only look at 5 different cascade paths from wolves all the way to the rivers. The second query we're going to look at will return a graph model that we can visually look at, and we can see all the different interactions that go from wolves all the way to the rivers. And a third query is going to look at a graph visualization from bears to willow, and in that we're going to look at how changing the population of bears through hunting might affect other species and even bears themselves. So for our first query, we're going to have a table as shown here. We can see that as we have more wolves, we'll end up with less deer, and subsequently those deer won't be grazing on the fields or willows. And because the willows aren't being eaten, there'll be more willows, which will lead to less stream bank erosion and increased river stability. So this gives us a path of how reintroducing the wolves affects river stability. The second query we have gives us a graph visualization going from wolves to rivers and all the relationships in between. The orange nodes are animals, the red nodes are plants, and the blue nodes are landscape features. You can see how moving from node to node, all the different interactions that will end up affecting those landscape features like the rivers. So we can follow the graph model in order to see that example that we saw in the table. If we increase the number of wolves, they will prey on the deer. Since there's now less deer, there's more willow because those deer browse on the willow. Now the willow promotes less stream bank erosion, which in turn promotes river stability. So we can follow the textual link, or we can follow it visually in the graph model. And in our final query, we can look at the interaction between bear, deer, willow, songbirds, and berry-producing shrubs. If we allowed more hunting of bears in Yellowstone, that would decrease the bear population. And because there's less bear, there would potentially be an increase in the number of deer because those bears prey on those deer. And because the deer eat the willow and there's more of them, there will be less willow, which will be less habitat for the songbirds, which will disperse less seeds for the berry-producing shrubs, which is food for the bears. So in this case, we can see how hunting bears directly lead to a decrease in the bear population, but could also indirectly lead to further decrease of the bear population. This review was taken from the GraphGist performed by May Lim. The image used in the presentations were taken by myself, and then also the gray wolf was from Unsplash by M. Jadoing.